back. It can't get any more simpler than that. Okay? And we are set as a nation better than virtually any other country in this world. Okay? Here's the report that Gerald Grattan McGeer did. It's a resolution proposal when they're discussing the banking and currency issue in Canada. He was representing, again, the labor boards of Vancouver, New Westminster, and districts. And what he did, he drew a lot of his, he drew a lot of his information from a Macmillan Commission that was held in Great Britain 2 years earlier. So a lot of the work was done. I wish we had time to go through every word, because it is probably the most complete analysis of banking and currency operation. Okay? So what I'm saying is the work's already done. Now, it may need to be updated or whatever, but it's very funny. Although we live in Technicolor and Dolby Sound now, monetary fundamental principles haven't changed. So much information in there. So here's this resolution of emancipation that he drafted for this Labour Board. He goes, Plan for Canada, he goes, that then are the essential requirements in the management of money, credit, and trade that will give us some measure of sound and stable economy and some semblance of permanent prosperity. They may, I believe, be enumerated as follows. We're only going to look at a couple of them. Some of the first and second one in the article itself. It goes, the National Bank. A national banking system empowered to manage gold and silver reserves for the purpose of settling international balances, to mint coins, issue national currency notes, and bank credit independent of metal reserves, and free from interest charges for the purpose of financing all public enterprises and social service, to assist in the promotion of domestic and international trade, and equipped to maintain deposit and checking accounts for public and private combination. Okay, that was one section that he was proposing in the drafting of it. I think it goes on to clarify, by changing the issue and circulation of national currency and the conversion of public credit into purchasing power from a privilege of private monopoly to the public utility, the disastrous cost of interest now incurred in financing governmental enterprises by borrowing private bank credit and private finances can be eliminated. It's real simple. It's just quit doing it. Okay? The second B, what they go on is about scientific taxation. You know, I've noticed over the years sometimes is people get so confused, and all they believe that there is in this world is income tax. There's hundreds of taxes. So, and any responsible, any country that wants to have a government is wise enough to know that that government needs to function. And therefore, there will be some taxes. Okay? But where are those taxes placed? Do they placed where they take the money out of your pocket? Or are they placed in the stream of the flow of goods and services where we, as the end user, never even know they're there? Okay? And so he had a section here about scientific taxation. I was trying to cut it shorter because I wanted it to be clear, but it was so important I put everything in here and we'll have to squint to read it. Okay? It goes, B, okay, a Department of Taxation empowered to levy taxes for the purposes of preventing the circulation of purchasing power from centralizing in the possession of a few or losing its medium of exchange value by virtue of excessive accumulation. It's needed actually to keep check and balance of inflation and recessions. Okay? It's the fluctuation, the ability to pull it in and push it forward and back allows to keep control of that. Goes on, he goes, a government that deploys a national banking system can do away with all but regulatory taxes. Governments exercising for the benefit of the nation and the people their prerogative right to issue and circulate national currency and national bank credit do not need to borrow either private bank credit or private finance. That burden to the taxpayer can be dispensed with. Period. Okay? Then he asks a few questions which he goes on to answer. He goes, what then will be the security for the national bank credits that will accumulate? Exactly the same, only better. Security then today secures the accumulation of bank credits in the private banks. The going concern value of the assets. And that's what he's talking about. Us living here as a nation is a going concern. That in of itself carries an inherent value, and that in of itself, we can borrow from the bank on that. That constitutes the wealth of the nation, offers a better security than that which the bankers now hold as security for depositors' money wealth. What will take place of government interest-bearing bonds as a means of safe investment for accumulative savings? A vastly increased opportunity to invest in all matters of industrial and commercial activities engaged in supplying the demands of an educated people, adequately supplied with wages, superannuation allowances, pensions, and social service accommodations. There is a balance in there, but that is where it starts. We are experiencing and living through the times we're living through because the private bankers took over control. And in Canada, they did it really quite unique. Now, the people who ran the Royal Commission, or who were elected to head the commission, were all bankers. Okay, they did not want it to go through. Gerald Grattan McGeer put the pressure on, came in through with the labor unions and stuff. So I'm not sure how it all bounced out, but at the end of the day, the Bank of Canada was founded. Okay, but at that point, and maybe this was the quid pro quo for these international bankers, it was founded as a privately owned corporation. I believe then along came William Lionel Mackenzie, who really knew what was going on too, put the pressure on, and in 1938 it became a Crown Corporation belonging to the federal government, and since that time the Minister of Finance has held the entire share capital issued by the bank. Ultimately, the Bank of Canada is owned by the people of Canada. Period. You own a bank. Why do you keep going to your neighbor and borrowing money from him at interest? And it's that simple. When we can borrow it from ourselves, interest-free. Okay, this is a paragraph right off the Bank of Canada website. So here's how simple it is. You know, we looked at during Bev's presentation, is all these new laws the government's passing. As they're setting their stage, they're passing the laws to get their buddies in, to take over control. When we understand, it's like, that's how it happens. Nothing exists until a law is passed. So we got to look at it. Why are we now living, even though we have our own bank, the private bankers were still borrowing from them? Because of the wording in the Act that allows them to exist. This is out of Section 18 out of the Bank Act, and this is how it reads. The bank may, okay, there's A to I forget how many, but one of us may borrow from the private international bankers. Okay, here's what the bank may also do. The bank may make loans and advances for periods not exceeding 6 months, which is variable later on, to the Government of Canada or the government of a province, in taking security in readily marketable securities issued or guaranteed by Canada or the province. We can go to our own bank, secure future developed natural resources, borrow money interest-free, and develop infrastructure, pay for social services. So why don't they do it? Because the ones who are running the Bank of Canada are probably part of the crowd that Bev was talking about, and they like this little word may, which is discretionary. You can if you want. Well, guess what they're doing? We don't want to. We like our favors we get from the bankers. So all we as the people need to do is to get this one word changed to shall. The bank must, subject to the regulations, so you can make sure it's not abused, okay? Because one of the clauses is borrowing from the international bankers. So we don't want to have that. They must always do that. They shall make loans to the advance for periods not exceeding 6 months, or Canada, to the governments or the provinces. When we can change that permissive element into an imperative and bind it in law, I don't care who their puppet master is, they must obey it. And that then actually starts releasing the shackles and freeing up the money. What will it take to do that is political will. Timeless words of wisdom from Canada's Prime Minister, Mackenzie King. Until the control of the issuance of currency and credit is restored to government and recognized as most conspicuous and sacred responsibility, all talks of sovereignty, of parliament, and of democracy is idle and futile. Once a nation parts with the control of its credit, it matters not who makes the laws. Usury, once in control, will recognition. And we are living in these times right now. Our nation is wrecked. It's not lost, and it will never be lost, because you cannot destroy the reality of the supremacy of human rights. But as long as you can keep the masses dumbed down and enslaved, they're too tired, too weak, and too broke to do anything about it. Okay? But if we keep going down this path, the writing's on the wall. But we have the opportunity to change it. So why is our government still borrowing from the private bankers and paying interest? This quote from the Rothschild brothers, which was years, centuries ago, explains it all, why they're doing it. The few who understand the system will be either so interested in its profits or so dependent on its favors that there will be no opposition from that class. Who are those? Those are all the few political puppets that they sold their soul for the sake of a few shiny trinkets. Okay? And in that really will follow a lot of those who have a vested interest in the preservation of economically enslaving humanity. You know, no disrespect to elements, but when somebody is willfully blind to looking at the truth before them, you have to really question is what are they getting out of the deal to remain willfully blind? To say, no, income tax is certain as death, quit asking questions, get back to your knees. Look at what they're getting out of the deal. They all fall into that class. Okay? And this is how they look at us. They go, the great body of people, mentally incapable